There we go. You're all going to have to push your little buttons now. So we are now recording. So the sign in to win, again, as mentioned, does come with a requirement this go around with an equity analysis. Now, regardless of whether we're having this conversation about objection handling, the equity analysis opportunity for the sign in to win, or if you're just using them outside of sign in to win, the conversation is really kind of the same, right? And so I guess the question I have is, what are the questions that you have? What are you either hearing from homeowners, or what are you concerned that you might hear as a part of the sign in to win program that you want to be sure that we objection handle? I want to make sure that we're talking about the things that are important to you all, and that we have a guess about what that is. Okay, well, it was lovely to see you all. I'll be back on at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Oh, okay, Barbara, go ahead.
Well, I'm a little confused as to how we work this.
Okay, and tell me more about that. Exactly.
So do I introduce someone to the equity analysis as a temptation is the contest? I mean, like, I'm not quite sure. I wasn't aware that this was part and parcel with the contest. So I'm trying to figure out how the best way is to approach someone with regard to both, putting them together.
Got it. So the answer is, so when your folks go to the sign in to win portal, right? It says it 2 times. They actually have to click a little box that says, yes, I just read above. It says, click here, and you're saying yes to having your agent call you and I think send and review a current equity analysis for the value of your home, or something like that. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, because it's kind of written right into the form that they fill out. They check the little box that says yes, and it also then is in the fine print that that's part of the deal, that the validity of their eligibility comes with them saying yes to the equity analysis. So what I would do is I would just send the sign in to win stuff out, blanket the way that you did last time, and just know that as people sign in, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either on April the 1st, you're going to be calling all these folks back to schedule the receipt and review of an equity analysis with them, which is why we built in a whole extra week after the 1st for you to get that done, which we're not pulling the winners till the 11th, because that's that extra week for you to get those equity analyses done with everybody. Or the way I would personally do it, we are going to get you your sign-ins twice a week. So Mondays and Thursdays, we're actually working on the first round of that right now, right? Mondays and Thursdays, you'll get an email with who's signed in to win. I would call those people right now, because they already checked the box that said, yes, please send me an equity analysis. So I would call them right now to say, so say Kathy's on my list. I'd call Kathy to say, hey, Kathy, it's Rick Scott. I saw that you signed in to win those awesome prizes in our contest. I am so excited. I am rooting for you. I don't have any sway over who wins, but if I had to pick, it would certainly be you. And as you may have seen, one of those eligibility requirements was for you to kind of enroll in my VIP program, which gives you a quarterly equity analysis. And I'd like to just schedule with you your receipt and review of that very first one, so that you just kind of know where you're at in terms of the value of your home. And then Kathy says, awesome. Okay, well, when can we do that? Right? And if she says, oh, well, I don't need that. I'm not going anywhere. Got it. Great. I love the fact that you're not leaving anytime soon. And yet there are lots of different ways, lots of different reasons that knowing the current value of your home could be really useful to you. I have clients who, after receiving and reviewing this equity analysis, call their insurance company because they realize they're underinsured. I have some clients who go to town and redo their kitchens or their master bath, right? By taking some equity out because they didn't realize they had that much equity in the property. So they get to do some improvements that they've been doing. I had just somebody last week who said to me, you know what, thank God you called me and we had this conversation, because I was really not clear about how I was going to pay the fall tuition for my kids' college education. I was like, I'm running out of places. And the fact that I have this kind of equity in my house, that's going to solve a problem for me. Right. So there's lots of reasons why people could use this information other than the fact that they're going to be sellers. We would all love it if everyone just raised their hand and said, yes, I'm going to sell, I'm going to sell. That's not the point. The point here is to get them on a program that gives you the opportunity to be that resource about the equity and value of their home. Because you're going to do it once to validate them for the contest, but then you're going to do it quarterly, right? Here's an update, here's an update, here's an update, here's an update. Joanne, then Herm, then Kathy.
So what if buyers are signing in to win and have nothing to sell?
Yeah, so homeowners in this particular case, homeowners themselves are ineligible this go around. So what I would do is if buyers sign in to win, they've already checked the box that says home equity analysis, right? You get to call them back to say, hey, it's so great that you signed in to win. I'm curious, do you own property that we could do an equity analysis on? If the answer is no, then what I would do is I would say one of two things. I would either say, well, then, you know what? So do note that that is one of the requirements for eligibility in this go round. I'm excited to kind of keep you queued up for our next one that may not have that as an eligibility requirement. However, for this one, that is an eligibility requirement. What I can do though is I can kind of get you in if you can refer me to somebody that you might know who might have a property that they need to know the value of. Turn it into a referral opportunity, and then just type in when you give us back the eligibility, type back in, not a homeowner, but gave me a referral and I had an equity analysis with that person. Put them in the contest all day long. But the point here is let's have our databases do a little bit more work this time around, right? To earn the right to go ahead and have to be in this contest, work that ultimately benefits them. If that helps, Joanne,
Yes,
that's
great.
how I would do it.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure. Herm.
Hi. I just want to be clear, like the end game is to possibly get a listing, right? Is that what we're trying to focus on, like as the bonus, like at the end, like to get a listing, right?
Yeah, I would say the end game is to make sure that you are in constant contact and business contact with your database. And if a listing comes from that, you're right. That's a total bonus from this go. Yeah.
So can I bypass the equity analysis if I get the listing?
Well, if you get the listing between now and April 1st, you've done an equity analysis for them because it's called a CNA, right? So that's the same thing.
Okay, so because I'm going tonight to hopefully, get that listing, and I wanted to enter her to sign in to win. So I was wondering, I don't need to do an equity analysis if I get her to sign the listing agreement, right? Is that
right?
Is
Well,
that
but my point is you're doing an equity analysis in order to list the property anyway. So by default, you're already doing it. So listing agreements, by default, you've already checked that box. So you're all good.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
100%.
All right.
Kathy or Carl, did you still have a question? Did I answer it? Okay. Yes, I read your mind. What other questions do you have?
I think one of the most common objections that the sellers have for us in something like this is, I don't want to waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
That's constantly what, people hear. So it'd be interesting to hear what your response would be to that.
Sure. And so I think so. The first thing I would say is, well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you saying it, and the fact that you mean it, I appreciate it even more. One of the things that what I would like to impart to you is this is just a new level of service that I'm offering to all of the VIP people in my database. So recognize that this is not a waste of time. It actually assists me in assisting you long-term, whether that's tomorrow or 5 years from now or 10 years from now. It also keeps me on my game, right? It keeps me so in tune with the market. Every time I do one of these for VIPs like you, it keeps me so in tune with the market that it just makes me better at what I do. So trust me when I tell you that the production of one of these reports, it's a benefit to both of us. And so what I would encourage you to do is just say yes. Just say yes, because it's going to take us 10 minutes to review it. I'll prepare it. I'll shoot it over to you. We'll talk on the phone, or we'll talk, I'll pop on over, or we'll do a quick Zoom. It'll take 10 minutes and we'll be good. And what you'll have is a benchmark. You'll have a benchmark today so that when I start updating these quarterly for you, you'll know where we started. You'll know where you are. You'll know whether or not your income, your house is actually appreciating or depreciating. Just like you get statements every month, Kathy, from your financial advisor, as your real estate advisor, I want to start giving you those quarterly reports so that you know how the value of your property is ebbing and flowing, so you can make really good financial decisions. That's what I would say. Maybe a shorter version of that, but because it was off the top of my head, right? I would get specific and script it so you can be a little less wordy. But that's where I would go. It's, you're important to me, and I appreciate the fact that you want to save me time. It's a service that I'm offering, and I encourage you to just say yes to it. Yes, Joanne.
So I'm thinking of, with our health, lots of times we'll have tests for our baseline. So it's kind of like the health of your home baseline. No?
I love that. I love that analogy, right? Exactly right. Exactly right. I don't go to the doctor very often, like never.
Me either.
And what I've been hearing since I just turned 52 is, you go so rarely that you really need to go and have a baseline. People need to, like, anyone, if something happens, like, when was the last time blood was taken? When was the last time anything was done? And so I'm like right there. I'm hearing it from all sides on that medical baseline, the health baseline. So the analogy of the business baseline, the real estate baseline, I think is a beautiful one, because it really is perfect. You need to know where you start so you know where you're going. And the other side of what Joanne just said is, think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. If you had to make a move quickly, if something happened and you had to make a move quickly, we have now all the data we need, because we've been actually doing this quarterly for the last 2.5 years. Now, remember, you're making a commitment. Maybe some of you didn't realize this, right? You're making a commitment. When you do one equity analysis for somebody, you're now committing to updating that quarterly. This isn't a one and done, because the whole idea of this is for you to get tighter and tighter and tighter and be seen as more of a financial and real estate resource to your database. So this isn't, it's not like, oh, well, inventory is tight, let's do this month and then never do it again. You're committing to quarterly. And oh, by the way, one of the best objection handlers to we don't want one is the idea that this is just a quarterly statement. But you gotta kick it off. You gotta start it, right? You have to talk to your financial advisor first before you can send money to invest, before they start giving you those statements to see how it's doing. So this is just that. My point in saying that to you is we wrap this into the sign in to win for your benefit, right? And I know that some of you don't see it as a benefit, because I've heard from some of you say this seems like it's extra work. Well, it's an extra level of service to then get in front of more people to show them the value of not just using you today, but using you next month or 6 months from now or next year or 10 years from now, if in fact that's when they choose to sell their property.
This is great.
What else? Yeah, Barbara.
I think it's great. I wasn't looking at, I was trying to figure out how to look at it, but that's really great, because it does build that whole relationship throughout the year and the years.
You got it. Got it. And think about it this way. For those of you who, no matter how many times I say, call your database, call your database, call your database, for those of you who don't do that, this is a business related opportunity for you to connect with people in your database, that what I'm thinking is you're more apt to do than just call and say, hey, how's it going? Right? Because a lot of you don't call your database because you don't know what to say. Well, this gives you an absolute something or other 4 times a year to have a conversation around. It's the work that you know how to do. It's work that you're comfortable doing. It's work that you would do for any seller that called you anyway. So let's just be doing it for our database and then update quarterly so that you have an opportunity to call behind it to say, hey, just checking in to see if you got the quarterly update. I'm not even saying that you have to have a one-on-one meeting for the quarterly updates. You can if you so choose. It'd be powerful if you could work that out with some people, but that not everyone's going to want that. But if you could do one now and then put them on a quarterly and then just have the opportunity to follow that up, I think it would put you way more in contact with your database than many of you are today from a business perspective. And remember what Jason Abrams keeps telling us. Jason has said a number of times, guys, if you're not the one who is presenting yourself as the expert in the value of their home and helping them monitor the value of their home month in and month out, read quarterly, one of 2 things is happening. Number one, either nobody's doing it, which is problematic for your client base, right? Because now they're missing potential opportunities. Or 2, somebody who's not you is doing it. And you think you have this big old database of people who would list with you when somebody in some other wherever is sending them these kinds of equity analyses. And when it comes time for them to list, you're off the list. And they're going with the person who showed them that they cared about them in their house and had an expertise in valuing property. That's the more dangerous one. Well, I think they're both pretty dangerous. Jason is right when you think about it. If you're not doing it, one of those 2 things is likely happening. So let's just solve that. What else? Questions, comments, concerns, other things that you are either concerned about or are hearing as objections that you want to spend time on? Do you have any questions in general about the sign in to win? Again, I know this is not necessarily a sign in to win conversation, but the genesis of this conversation was the sign in to win. So any broader questions about the sign in to win program? No? All right, so then my last question is, who's registered for Bold? And if you're not, how come? Let's have that conversation. Here's the one question I want you to ask and answer yourself. Did you make as much money as you wanted to last year in real estate? If you did, well, then you're all good for Bold. If you didn't, or if you have a desire to make more this year, I'm going to tell you what, for $799 for 2 months worth of coaching, I pay almost twice that every month for 7 people. Do you know how much money that is every month I pay for coaching for myself and for my staff and from the leadership team? It's a freaking bargain, $799, right? And again, I've said this before, I don't make any money on Bold, zero, nada, right? Bold is just a pass through. And so the only reason I'm saying this to you is because I care about your income and your growth. I've taken it probably 10 times, maybe 8, likely 10 times. And here's what I ask myself every single time. Okay, so is there a reason for me to do this again? And I say, okay, well, let me ask you this, Rick. Have you mastered the concepts that are taught in Bold? And are you consistently producing at a level that proves that you've mastered the concepts in Bold? And my answer is no. So I go back because I'm human, right? What else, Marissa? What am I missing?
No, I'm curious with the sign in to win, if you think it's worth like because the postcard's coming up, mailing the postcard out to people that aren't necessarily in your network, like a specific neighborhood or street, or maybe people who bought their house 10 plus years ago? You think you'll see a return on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm not 100% sure. That's one of those, you know what, you may have to try it and monitor it, kind of track it on the back end. What I would do if it was me is, if you want to use this program, because the cool thing about doing that this time is the only eligible people, you're not like diluting the winners pool, right? Because you're doing mass mailings to it, because you're only qualifying people who say yes to the equity analysis. So you could really get real clear about people who are interested in that. And then again, like I said, you're not just doing it once. So it might be a cool way for you to add to your database. The postcard itself doesn't cost all that much money, and we're covering the rest of the costs for the sign in to win. So it's probably a relatively inexpensive way for you to kind of test drive something without too much risk on the other side. So I'd say give it a try, and let's just be really clear about monitoring. If you send it to a neighborhood of 200, let's see how many people actually sign in to win. I would also say to you, if you're going to do that, figure out a way to obtain numbers, or choose to walk the neighborhood as a follow-up. Don't just allow mail to do the heavy lifting, because it usually doesn't. You need to follow it up somehow, and then you really know whether or not it was worthwhile.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think I'll definitely like knock the doors with a printed flyer too.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. And the fact that you have something to give them, like Hamilton tickets, right? You'll get more people who open the doors rather than just the, hi, I just wanted to tell you about an open house, right? Not that I'm knocking that, but people don't care until they know what is that phrase? Until they know what's in it for them, or something like that. We actually have something.
I think people are actually really liking this time around the fact that we picked a show, so they know what show they're going to. Last time, I think it was just generic, like tickets and a dinner, right? But people are like, oh my God, Hamilton, where do I sign up? Like, people really like that. Just some
Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad about that. And what's cool is that you can actually get Hamilton tickets nowadays. It's not like it was pre-pandemic, and yet people don't seem to know that, right? It still is like, oh my goodness, Hamilton tickets, oh baby, right? So we're getting a whole lot of positive press because people are impressed with Hamilton, even though you can go and get Hamilton tickets nowadays. What else? Anything else?
Okay, can we go through the script one more time when I'm like calling my database? I'm sorry, I'm like in the bed with the flu or something, so I think I was delirious the first half of this call. But can you give me the script again when I call people about the sign in to win?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
how they have to qualify?
Yeah. So do you mean so when they sign in to win? So I'm going to give you two versions of that, right? So when they sign in to win, Mondays and Thursdays, we're going to send you your list, right?
Mhm.
And just so you know, if you don't get you're going to get a link, right? You're going to get a
Mhm.
link to your list. And so once you have the link, you can go back and look at it as million times as you want. We update it on Mondays and Thursdays.
Mhm.
So everyone will get a link. If your link is empty, it's not because we forgot about you. It's because you don't have any sign-ins yet.
Okay.
And so when we update your link on Mondays and Thursdays, anybody new to you since the last update of your link, I would call them immediately to say, I'm so excited, hey, it's Rick. I'm so excited that you registered at the portal for the sign in to win. As you may have seen, a quick equity analysis is one of the requirements for your eligibility to win those awesome prizes. It's going to take me about 24 hours to produce that for you. I'm curious, is there some time tomorrow evening or maybe on Wednesday that we could set up a quick face-to-face or Zoom to Zoom? I can pop by pop by your house, or you can stop in the office, or if it's simpler, again, just a quick Zoom call. I'll push that report out to you I'd like to just follow it up with a 10-minute conversation to make sure you don't have any questions.
Okay, so maybe you can give me some insight into this, because what I've been doing is I've basically been advertising the sign in to win to my entire database.
Mhm.
And I've just been like advertising as a generic raffle
Mhm.
and then letting them go to sign in and realize that they have to do an equity. So I
don't
heard
disagree with
you,
that.
okay, great. Because I heard you later saying, if they don't own a home, you try and get a referral to qualify them. So you think I'm doing like a proper thing?
Oh yeah, I would push it to my entire database 100%.
Okay, great.
Because here's the thing, even if they're buyers who kind of go in and you try and give them a call and they realize that they're not in for this one, you're still getting credit for it, right? It's still a connection, it's still communication, right?
Right.
And here's what I want you to remember. Just because somebody signs in to win on some free thing that for all intents and purposes, what they believe, and that's the reason we do it this way, they believe that you're spending like $3,000 on prizes for them. That's what they see, right? And oh, by the way, if somebody asks, so is your office paying for this? What you
Who's
can
gonna ask that? Nobody's gonna ask that.
but again, I've been asked by people what happens if someone says that. So I'm
Okay,
redelivering the
okay.
information to you, right? Because they won't say that. The whole reason it's designed the way it's designed is so that you get all the credit and don't have the expense, right?
Yeah.
But the idea of if that should come up, my answer would be, because you don't want to lie either. My answer would be, right? Because lying to me is that's it's never a good path towards getting anything good. So don't
Mhm.
lie. What you can do though is say, you know what, my office and I are really tight partners, and we kind of do everything in partnership.
Cool.
And that answers the question, because that's the truth, right? We are
Mhm.
partners and we do things in partnership. Just because we're covering the costs over here and you're doing the groundwork, that's how partnership works. You're doing some, we're doing some, everyone's happy.
Yeah, that's
But
exactly it. I figured I'd take all the credit that I can and I'd milk it for every like penny that it's worth, right? The whole thing, like my clients probably aren't even going to win the prizes, realistically speaking, right? I mean, fingers crossed they do. But it's all about just a reason to call people and a reason to connect with people.
that you got it. That's exactly right. And I think that, Marissa, when we what I encourage everybody on this call to do is not overthink it any more than that, because it's easy to start like, well, but the what if my clients aren't going to the theater yet? What if they're still COVID fearful, and how are we going to deal with that? Like, you're overthinking it. It's like here's the good news. We likely won't have that issue. So unless someone wins and comes and says, I'm not going to the theater. Okay, well, are you never going to the theater ever again? Well, maybe we can figure something else out, right? If you're going to the theater, maybe at the end of the year, well, we'll just hold the prize until then, or whatever, right? Don't overthink it. Just use it as a tool to connect with your database, take as much credit as you possibly can, get as many people to opt into your equity analysis program. I would call it my VIP, home check-in program, or my VIP, equity analysis, or some version of VIP, just because I like calling people VIPs, and people like being called VIPs. So if you're not calling your database VIPs, I would take that shift and go that route. But just use it for that. The other thing, and I'm going to say this kind of in a Rick way, I mean it softer than it will come out, right? But so just hear it the way I mean it, right? Remember, we're doing this for them. So if people are upset that they're not eligible, or they don't like the requirements, or the whatever, you don't take that on you. That's like tough turkeys. Like, we're doing this for them. That's why we get to set the rules. So it's okay if people opt out. I mean, clearly the intent is not to irritate your database. That's not the point. And yet, if you have somebody say, oh, well, that doesn't seem fair, say, oh my goodness, you know what? So we kind of tailor things to markets of the moment. And right now the market of the moment really is that market that we're looking to find as many sellers as possible. However, don't you worry, because we're going to definitely work you into the next one. Right? My point to you is, don't accept any of that kind of pushback, because they're your rules. They get to play by what we decide, because we're doing this on their behalf. It's not like they're offering to underwrite it, right? So just remember that you use it for what it's good for, and just smile your way through it. Because the other reason that we keep doing these things is that if it can bring a smile to anybody's face, that they have an opportunity to go see a Broadway show and they're excited by it, and it makes them feel normal, and it makes them not think about the last 2 years and all that stuff, well, then we've also accomplished something, because there's just too few people out spreading smiles and good news and opportunities and happiness today. So be one of those people. Be somebody who's like, I am so excited. I wish you the best. I would love to hear your name called. I'm gonna send all my positive energy for you. Make it all about that. See, it wasn't so bad, Marissa. Marissa was buckling in on that one.
Sometimes you say stuff like that, and then it's like, oh, geez, you got to stop the recording, right? And then you're really going to say something.
Yeah, I didn't stop the recording, so you knew you were a little safer on that one.
Thank you. That was all very helpful.
Sure thing. Joanne.
So I just, if I may throw this out for opportunity. Like you said, touching your database. I'm doing a drawing with a colleague of mine, a couple of colleagues, and they just have to sign up to enter to win $150 pot of gold. And you'd be surprised how many people aren't. So now it's the opportunity for me to call, hey, you don't need to be there to win, just sign in. Plus on my Google form, I put in for a birthday. So I said, share your birthday. You don't have to share the year. Now I have these people's birthdays, all opportunities.
Very smart, Joanne. Very, very smart. Right. And so Joanne brings up a really good point. Remember, we're focused on doing 3 to 4 of these a year at the market center level. That doesn't mean that you can't do your own in some way, shape, or form, whether it's as big as, if you want to make the prizes as big as what we're doing, or you want to make some smaller prizes, the $150 gift certificate, or dinner out at some whatever worth $200, or a $50 gas card, because we know that times are tough and gas prices are going up. Like, you can do such simple stuff to do your own kind of in between the ones that we're doing. Ours are spaced out quarterly, and we intend to keep doing them quarterly. But the other way to help the people who might not be eligible for this one is to kind of run your own at the same time. Maybe push them into the we don't own property one. So here's your opportunity, right? And again, just keep doing that and keep doing that. They're powerful, because over time, people just start looking forward to it and looking forward to it and looking forward to it. They take your calls because they think you're calling about some new contest for them to win. And it's about caring about them and creating fun and whatnot, and possibly a prize for them in return for them engaging you at a business level a couple of times a year. And again, remember, the idea is give and take here. It's not, we're just going to keep giving. Joanne added birthday to her thing, because now she has another touch point if she's sending people birthday acknowledgments, right? Don't be afraid to ask for that kind of stuff. If people don't want to give it, then they won't give it, or they won't participate. And that's okay, right? No one's calling your baby ugly if they don't want to participate in your contest. They're just not participating. Either way is okay. Joanne.
Every person that signed on for my drawing, now the birthday was not a requirement, but they all gave it to me.
Of course, right? Why? Because people like themselves, right? It's a proven psychological fact that the word that people like to hear the most is their name, right? So there is that fuel for people to want to participate, especially in the weird, bizarro world that we've lived in for the last 24 months. People want to belong, and they be a part of a community. If it's a part of Joanne's community, for them to get a happy birthday wish and maybe a little Starbucks gift card or whatever might come with that, People are all in on that kind of stuff because the last 2 years have, I'm going to tell you what, if I'm into community, right? Just imagine how people who really like people are into community, right? Because I'm done with being alone and by myself and in this room by myself for 2 years, right? And that's not something that I normally long for, is groups and community and whatnot. So just know that it's taken a toll on everybody. And so if we can be an assist to that, it's a win. It's really a win. What else? Anything else on this? Either the sign in to win or the equity analysis?
So
Hold on.
again,
Yeah, so
if they say, I don't want the equity analysis, what do you say?
yeah, so again, if you call and remind them that their eligibility is based on, remember the script I gave you before is important, because you're calling to say, thanks so much for signing in to win. The contest is really cool. I'm really excited for you to be a potential winner of these awesome prizes. As you saw, right, because they had to check the box, so they saw it. As you saw, one of the requirements for eligibility is to review a quick equity analysis with me. Takes about 10 minutes or so. I can prepare it. We can talk tomorrow or Wednesday on it, which is better for you. If they say, oh yeah, you know what, you can skip that, I don't need that. What you can simply say is, I completely understand. Unfortunately, for this particular version of the contest, it is a requirement, right? So we are going to look to have that touch base with you. But over and above that, besides the fact that I really want you to win, what I really want for you to do is have a baseline on the value of your largest asset, so that moving forward, we can deliver you some quarterly updates to that won't necessarily require a meeting. So just to kind of kick it all off, I'm curious, can you maybe spare just 10 minutes tomorrow night via Zoom to get that going? And again, if people still say, no, I don't want it, no, I don't want it, so you know what, totally understand. If you happen to change your mind, just let me know. It was so great talking to you. I wish you the absolute best. Have a great one. And just move on, right? And then just put a little X next to their names. They're not going to win. What I wouldn't do is say, well, then I'm going to have to take your name off the list because you just can't win. Like, that's just contentious. So I would stay away from that, right? Instead, I would just simply say, I totally get it. Thanks so much. I'm here if you ever need anything. I'm happy to be a resource. And then maybe call them in a week and say, hey, you know what? I came across your name again. And frankly, did we have a conversation around your equity analysis? I was just going through and they said, no, I didn't want that. Oh, that's right. Have you changed your mind? No? Okay. All right. Well, I'm just checking in. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Again, don't overthink it. Just have fun with it. Have fun. Because what it's like? If you like giving gifts to people, right? That's how I would look at this. I would view every call as you giving a potential gift. You're giving the gift of an entry into this contest where they could win really cool prizes, right? My guess is that most of the people you're talking to, if they were the winner, they didn't get a prize that cool for Christmas this past year. So you're giving them something, an opportunity to have something really cool. And then the second thing is just call and check in. Be smiley. Okay. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you run into any other issues, I forget where we are. I think we're on step 3, and that's either today or tomorrow. So that's either coming out to you later or tomorrow. I have to check in with Shai and see where we are with sign in to win. I, as always, appreciate your time and your efforts. And if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to help in whatever way I can. Have a great afternoon. Hey, and plug into 11 o'clock tomorrow for that win the freaking deal thing, because it's going to be excellent. And you, regardless of how much you think you know about having your buyers win, I promise you I'm going to deliver you some information that will be helpful for you. So do tune into that and go register for Bold. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.